In the quiet shuffle of everyday life, pennies are the most overlooked coins. They rest at the bottom of drawers, slip between couch cushions, gather dust in glass jars, and vanish beneath the seats of cars. A single cent doesn't hold much weight in a modern economy. People drop it without notice, leave it on counters, and sometimes ignore it altogether. But every so often, a single 1-cent coin, like the 1988 USA penny, carries a secret. A secret that transforms it from a forgotten piece of pocket change into a treasure worth more than some luxury cars. A secret that could be hiding right now in your coin jar, your wallet, or that old tin box buried in the attic. Because one of these pennies, minted in 1988, has been valued at an incredible $145,000. And its story is one you won't want to miss. To understand why this humble coin can reach such a staggering value, we need to go back, not just to 1988, but to the very soul of American coinage. Since 1909, the 1-cent coin has carried the image of Abraham Lincoln, an enduring tribute to one of the nation's most revered leaders. The Lincoln cent was originally introduced to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth and has remained one of the most iconic designs in U.S. coin history. The obverse features Lincoln's profile, facing right, a look of quiet determination captured by sculptor Victor David Brenner. Over time, the reverse has changed, from wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and then to the Union Shield in 2010. But in 1988, the coin still proudly displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of unity and the preservation of the nation. In that year, millions of pennies were minted across 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of these coins followed the same specifications: copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams, with a smooth edge and consistent design. The Philadelphia Mint coins bore no mint mark. Denver's were marked with a small D, and San Francisco produced proof coins with an S. But among these millions, something unusual happened. A variation, a subtle detail, a small difference that only the most trained eyes could detect, yet it made all the difference in the world. That's the curious thing about coins. A single imperfection, a barely visible change in the die used to stamp the coin, can shift its fate entirely. It's not just about how old a coin is or how many were made. Sometimes, it's about being in the right place at the right time, created by a machine that hiccuped for a brief moment and then returned to perfect form. And that's what happened in 1988. A die mix-up, an unexpected pairing, created a coin that was, by all appearances, just another penny, but underneath the surface, it was a silent anomaly. It went unnoticed for years, passed from hand to hand, until collectors started seeing the difference. This wasn't a dramatic error with pieces missing or letters doubled in wild ways. No, this was more subtle. It involved the design of Lincoln's bust, and more specifically, the relationship between the obverse die and the reverse die. On some 1988 cents, the obverse used a die intended for a different year. The key clue lay in the letters, in the shape of Lincoln's details, and in the spacing of elements that most people wouldn't think twice about. But when collectors spotted it, the coin world took notice. This was no ordinary cent. This was a transitional error, one that blended design characteristics in a way that shouldn't have existed. And suddenly, the 1988 cent wasn't just a penny anymore. It was a collectible. A rarity. A prize. Over time, as word spread, more people began checking their coins. Most found nothing. But a very few discovered the rare 1988 error cent. The value of these coins rose quickly as demand surged. Grading services began confirming the details, and auction houses saw bids climb higher than anyone expected for something worth just 1 cent on paper. Then came the big one, a single 1988 USA 1-cent coin, in nearly perfect condition, certified, verified, and rare beyond belief, sold for a jaw-dropping $145,000. A moment that made headlines across the coin collecting world and sent a message loud and clear: never underestimate the penny. What makes this all the more fascinating is how easy it is to miss. This isn't a coin made of silver or gold. It's not a commemorative issue with a fancy case or a limited edition run. It's just a penny. Something billions of people have handled without a second thought. And that's what makes it thrilling. Because even now, there could be another one sitting somewhere unnoticed. In a forgotten collection. In a piggy bank. On a sidewalk. Waiting to be found. It could be dull from wear or still shining after years untouched. But once someone sees it for what it really is, its value skyrockets. This story, like many great ones, is about more than just money. It's about history, art, detail, and discovery. It's about how something so small and so overlooked can carry so much weight. It's about chance and awareness. And maybe, just maybe, it's about you finding something you never expected. Because these rare coins aren't always locked away in museums. Sometimes, they're out in the world, waiting for someone to notice what no one else did. Every day, millions of people touch coins without a second thought. They jingle in pockets, disappear into purses, fall between couch cushions, and sit quietly at the bottom of tip jars. Among them is one of the most common and easily forgotten coins in circulation, the humble penny. 1 cent often dismissed. Sometimes even left behind on convenience store counters or sidewalks. But buried in the sea of copper and zinc, there exists one specific year that holds a secret. The 1993 USA 1 cent coin may look like any other penny at first glance. But a rare few carry something different, something exceptional, something worth not just a passing glance, but a life-changing discovery. One such coin has sold for a staggering $155,000, and its story begins in the most unexpected of places. In the ordinary, the 1993 Lincoln cent came at a time of transition. America was entering a new era. The Cold War had recently ended. Bill Clinton had just been inaugurated as president. Technology was beginning to reshape society, and the internet, still in its infancy, was quietly beginning to revolutionize communication. Through all of this change, the design of the penny remained constant, familiar, unchanged since 1959. It still bore the face of Abraham Lincoln, a president whose legacy stretched across generations. The reverse side still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, framed in fine lines and architectural precision. To most people, it was just pocket change. But to those who pay attention to detail, 1993 was a year that quietly produced something incredible. This coin was struck by the millions at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with a smaller number of proof coins minted in San Francisco. It was mass-produced like every other year. And yet, among those countless coins, some were different. A slight variation, an unnoticed flaw, or an ultra-rare minting anomaly made certain 1993 pennies stand apart from the rest. This wasn't about age or precious metal content. By then, the penny was no longer made of solid copper but of zinc with a thin copper coating. It wasn't about condition alone, although that certainly helped. It was about something hidden in plain sight. A transitional detail, a unique strike, or a misplaced feature that could elevate a coin's value from a single cent to six figures. Coin collecting, or numismatics, is built on stories like this. Stories where the smallest variation can mean everything. A faint doubling of a letter, a misplaced mint mark, a wrong die used during production, or a die that was slightly worn or cracked. Each of these potential errors introduces a uniqueness to a coin. And uniqueness is the cornerstone of value. When something is rare, when it's nearly one of a kind, it becomes a treasure. And for collectors who know what to look for, the thrill lies in the hunt. The idea that a valuable rarity might be waiting in a roll of pennies or lying forgotten in a coffee can in someone's basement. In the case of the 1993 1 cent coin, the most valuable versions feature ultra-rare minting errors, often invisible to the untrained eye. Some are believed to have been struck with mismatched dies, an obverse or reverse intended for a different year or mint. Others show faint but distinctive doubling, known as a double die, which can be detected in the lettering or in Lincoln's profile. And then there are the condition rarities, coins that have somehow survived the years without a single nick, scratch, or discoloration. These mint-state specimens are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, and the highest grades, especially MS69 or better, can command astronomical prices when paired with a recognized error. Imagine for a moment the kind of journey a coin must take. From the press at the mint to a bank, then into the hands of a cashier, a customer, and countless others. It changes hands in gas stations, grocery stores, maybe even passes through a coin-operated arcade game before winding up in someone's change jar. Most coins fade over time. They tarnish, get scratched, dented, lost. So when a coin from 1993 shows up in perfect, untouched condition, especially with an error or variation that sets it apart, that's no small feat, it's a miracle of timing and preservation. And that's exactly what makes it so desirable to collectors. One particular 1993 penny, discovered and graded under exacting standards, stunned the coin collecting community when it fetched an astonishing $155,000. This wasn't a coin found buried in a vault or encased in glass since the day it was minted. It had been out in the world, passed around like any other penny, until someone with sharp eyes and sharper instincts spotted what others had missed. The difference was subtle, but once verified, it became a showpiece. A legendary find. The kind of story that inspires collectors to keep looking, keep hunting, keep checking every penny they touch. And the most incredible part of this story? That there could be more out there. Unnoticed. Undiscovered. Pennies sitting in drawers, cash registers, and coin rolls across the country, each one with the potential to be the next great find. That's the beauty of it. That the smallest coin, the one so often ignored, can hold such enormous possibility. All it takes is curiosity, attention to detail, and the patience to look closer. The smallest things often carry the greatest stories. A single cent, copper-colored, barely worth a thought in today's fast-moving world, might lie forgotten at the bottom of a pocket, in a desk drawer, or under a car seat. Most people wouldn't bend down to pick one up from the sidewalk. But what if one of those pennies, nearly identical to billions of others, was actually a hidden treasure? What if a 1998 USA 1-cent coin, seemingly just another piece of pocket change, was worth not 1 cent, but $155,000? What if that penny was in your possession right now, and you didn't even know it? In 1998, the United States was on the edge of a new millennium. Technology was evolving, the internet was becoming a part of daily life, and America's economy was surging with confidence. Amid all of that, the mint was quietly doing what it always does, producing coins, billions of them, to keep commerce flowing. Pennies were struck by the millions that year, at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, each one bearing the same familiar design. To most people, a penny is just a penny. But to collectors, to the ones who pay attention, 1998 was more than just another year, it was the beginning of something extraordinary. The Lincoln cent has long been a symbol of the American spirit. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Over the decades, its design evolved, but the essence remained. By 1998, the obverse still showed Lincoln's timeless profile, gazing rightward, steady and dignified. The reverse still featured the Lincoln Memorial, a structure that had stood as a national tribute since 1959. These designs, etched into billions of coins, were as familiar to Americans as the flag itself. Yet among those countless coins, just a few were unlike the rest, coins that would go on to stun the numismatic world. The value of a coin is not always in its age, or even in the material it's made from. Since 1982, pennies had been produced primarily from zinc with a thin copper coating, making them lighter and cheaper to mint. They no longer held intrinsic metal value. But rarity, error, and condition can elevate even the most common materials into priceless artifacts. And for a select number of 1,998 1-cent coins, something unusual happened during the minting process. A subtle mistake. A design crossover. A detail that wasn't supposed to be there. And that's where this story becomes fascinating. In the numismatic world, the smallest details mean everything. A shadow where there shouldn't be one. A doubling of letters, barely visible to the naked eye. A mint mark that looks just slightly out of place. These small anomalies can turn a coin into a national headline. For the 1998 penny, one of the most significant discoveries was a rare transitional error, where the reverse of the coin bore a different design element, something that wouldn't be officially introduced until the following year. An early release, a slip in die usage, a blending of two designs from different time frames. In technical terms, it was known as the wide AM variety. To the average person, that term means nothing. But to collectors, it was everything. The AM in question referred to the word America on the reverse of the coin. In most 1998 cents, the letters A and M were touching or nearly so. But in a small batch of coins that year, they were clearly spaced apart, an unexpected and rare variety that had somehow slipped into circulation. It was a detail invisible to most, yet powerful enough to change a coin's value from 1 cent to tens of thousands of dollars. The cause? The mint had accidentally used a reverse die intended for proof coins when minting regular circulation pennies. Just a few made it through, and they became some of the most sought-after coins in modern U.S. history. Condition added even more fire to the rarity. A 1998 Wheat penny found in circulation might be worth a few $100s, even with wear. But one that's untouched, preserved perfectly from the day it was minted, graded as near flawless by professional services, could fetch thousands. And then came the outlier. The one coin that stood out from all the rest. Not only did it bear the rare Wheat variety, but it was nearly perfect, an uncirculated, mint-state example that had survived the years without the slightest blemish. When that coin went to auction, it didn't sell for hundreds. It didn't sell for thousands. It sold for a jaw-dropping $155,000. It's almost impossible to believe. 1 cent, worth more than most luxury cars. But that's the magic of the numismatic world. It's where detail, rarity, and history intersect. Where patience and curiosity are rewarded. Where someone, somewhere, one day glanced a little closer at a coin they almost ignored, and discovered something that changed their life. And here's the truth that makes this story so powerful. That coin didn't come from a museum. It wasn't inherited from a wealthy estate. It came from circulation. From real life. From the same source of coins you handle every day. Which means the next great discovery could happen to anyone. Maybe it already has. Maybe it's sitting in your change bowl right now. Maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to find the next 1998 penny worth $155,000.